The following broadcast is a presentation of Mount Zion Media Ministry.
There's a word from the Lord, and I want you to join me in reading this familiar passage, and don't check out on me because it's so familiar to you. Matthew chapter 22, and I shall begin reading at verse 35 from the King James Version. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. That's the end of the reading, 35 through verse 40. And I want to preach just a little bit today from this subject, what matters most in life. What matters most in life. I want to speak to the graduates in particular, but to all of us in general, and suggest to you that one of the challenges facing you now, to the high school graduates, is figuring out life. And for the college graduates, you had a little time to work on that in college, but I want you to know that your assignment is not complete. You still not figured out life. Because if you ask some of us who've had more birthdays than you whether or not we've got it figured out yet, we would tell you no if we were being honest. In fact, figuring out life is so difficult when we try to do it on our own that there's a whole book in the Bible called the book of Ecclesiastes dedicated to one man's effort to find meaning and purpose in life. And it was Solomon, king of Israel. And Solomon had something as an advantage that we don't have. First of all, the Bible declares that he was the wisest man that ever lived. And second of all, it says that he was the richest man in his time. And some believe he was the richest man in all of time. And yet, with all the money, and he declares that he bought everything that he thought would give meaning in life, only to find out it was meaningless. And using his wisdom, he did everything he thought would bring him meaning and purpose in life. And he said it was all meaningless, it was vanity. He said trying to find meaning and fulfillment on my own was like trying to catch the wind in my hand. And you know he couldn't do that. And each one of us in here, we are writing our own book. Some of us got more chapters than others. But this is what I know. All of our books are filled with success and failure. Because sometime in trying to get it right, we messed up. And every now and then, God blessed us and we were able to be successful. And I want to challenge us today that as we try to figure this thing out called life, that we try to be more than successful, but to be significant. Per Daniel Simmons, and this little wisdom that I can share with you, God didn't put you here to just be successful, because that's about you. But God put us here to be significant, and that's about him and others. Significance means that I bring glory to him in a significant way, but it also means that I bless the world. I leave it better than I found it, because God works through me to be a blessing to others. Somebody told me when I was young that if I was wise, I would listen to advice from those who've gone before me so I wouldn't make the same mistakes. But I want to confess that I didn't always listen. They told me that I was going to fall in that hole, and if I just went around it, I could avoid it. But you know, I was young and crazy like y'all, and so I had to get in the hole and try it out for myself. But if we had only listened, and I'm saying to those of you who graduated and those of you who are younger still that hadn't reached that point yet, if you would only listen. Smart people learn from their own experience. Wise people learn from their own experience and the experience of others who've gone before them. Lest I keep you too long, let me jump right into this text. Not only do we struggle with that, but people in the past struggle with it, aside from Solomon. And in this text, we have Jesus dealing with a question that comes out of this notion that how do we find meaning and purpose in life? Jesus is being questioned by a lawyer. He represents the Pharisees, and it is suggested by commentators that he's the best and brightest they got. They didn't send the jackleg lawyer to question Jesus, but they sent Johnny Cochran. So, if you will, Johnny Cochran approaches Jesus and says, Jesus, we need to know what you believe is the greatest commandment in life. Because Jesus, we Pharisees who are in charge of the religious life of the Jewish community, we have about 613 laws. And we tell people that if they follow these laws, they will be blessed in life and find true meaning and purpose. But Jesus, we are divided. There are some among us who say, well, only these are important, and if you can follow these, then you don't have to worry about the rest of them because these cover everything. And then Jesus, there are those who say that you got to follow every single one. And some says this one, and some says that one, and all of us are running around here in futility because none of us are really satisfied with our lives. And so we want to know from you, which is the greatest. And I want to suggest to you that in Jesus' answer, this is what he says. What you've got to do when you consider that answer is consider what matters most in life. Out of all the laws you got, out of all the options that you have, what matters most? Well, Jesus, I asked him, how do I discover what matters most? And this is what Jesus told me. What matters most in life is what brings you close to becoming the person you were born to be in order to fulfill the purpose for which you were born. Becoming the person you were born to be. Because how many of you know when you came out of your mother's womb, God already had his stamp on you. He said to Jeremiah, before I formed you and shaped you in your mama's womb, I knew you and I ordained your life. And every one of us got an ordination on our lives. And God created you to be that person. And listen, and you can't think about fulfilling your purpose until you get your being right. You got to know who you be and be comfortable in who you be so you don't run around trying to be somebody else. And then the doing becomes easy because in creating you, he formed you for the purpose for which you were born. In other words, your form was determined based on your function. Those of you who real fancy, you know. You know, y'all, you go to dinner and you have all these forks and knives, and you can look at them and tell, now this is a salad fork. And the salad fork is different from the one you eat your regular food with because the form is different. And this here is a butter knife, and this is a steak knife, and they're different in form based on function. You don't cut steak with a butter knife unless you don't have a steak knife. And so, help me somebody. Yeah. And you don't take a fork and eat soup. That's the soup spoon. And all I'm trying to tell you is when God created you, based on your purpose, he gave you a certain form. And the reason some of us are struggling, we're trying to do something we were not created to do. So gotta look at what was I created for? And then when I discover that, I can then discover my purpose in life. And when I'm walking in my being and doing what I was designed to do, fulfillment and meaning in life start coming toward me. And so in Jesus' answer, he gives it. He said, this is what you were created for. And this is how you discover meaning. He says, here's the first commandment. Here it is. Love God. Back up. Love the Lord your God. Look at it, because you got to see the Lord your God. See it? I need you to see that because I'm coming back to that your in a minute. Love the Lord thy God, your God, with all the heart, all the soul, and with all the mind. 3 parts to our being, and I won't take time to go into them, but he's basically saying with everything you got, I need you to love me. And notice they asked him for the greatest, which is one. But because they didn't understand what the greatest was, what he's saying is, you got to understand, it's not just one, but it's 2. And the second part of loving God is to love your neighbor as yourself, because loving me won't do you any good if you don't love your neighbor. And loving your neighbor is impossible if you don't love me. And so, what is most important in life, listen to me, is loving God and loving your neighbor. And you have to settle that in your mind, because hear me, graduates, hear me, everybody in here, there's always going to be competing desires inside of you. It ain't the devil, that's you. It's not the devil, that's in me. That's a part of my flesh. That's the lust of my eyes. That's the pride of my life. That's the lust of my flesh. That's me. And then there's going to be those desires from without. People and things and stuff pulling at you. When you get in college, graduates, there's going to be some new stuff pulling at you. And those of you that's graduating and going to the world of work, it's going to be some new stuff in life pulling at you. And can I tell you a secret? Don't tell anybody I told you. But whether you're 9 or 69, stuff still pulls. And so with these desires comes a demand that we make a decision. And you got to settle that decision in your mind. What matters most to me? Because my decisions are based on what matters to me, and I'm going to say no to that and yes to this based on what I've decided matters. Let me help you with this love thing. When he says love God with all your soul, mind, and heart, what he's saying is, I need you, if you're going to find meaning in life, to know that what matters most for you, before you can be who you're supposed to be, do what you're supposed to do, find any kind of pleasure in life, whatever, I need you to have a love relationship with me. I need you to have a love relationship with me that's deeper than you just coming to church. That's deeper than I want to join the choir. I want to be the usher. It's this kind of relationship where you realize that he's a person. And you pursue a love relationship with him as you would a person. And part of that pursuit means you got to get to know him and come close to me, because it is in knowing him that you get to know yourself. See, you got to love him from the perspective that this is a person who is my creator. And if I want to know anything about me, the best place for me to go is to the one who created me. And in the process of us loving one another, he will reveal things to me about me that I never knew about myself. There's some things about me that I can see, oh, that was in my daddy, that was in my mama, that was in my grandmama. But there are some things I can't see about me, and you can't see about you unless God reveals it to you. And it's in the context of relationship that God opens that up. Not only are you in a relationship with your creator, but listen, you're in a love relationship with the one who saved you. You're in a relationship with the one who sanctifies. Saved once and all, ED, finished. Sanctifies is a continuing process. You are better today, should be, than you were yesterday, because he's sanctifying you. He's the one who sustained you. It's easy to love on him when you realize that you didn't wake yourself up this morning. It's easier to love on him when you realize you didn't make the grades because you were so smart or your discipline alone, but every inch of discipline you got, every inch of smarts and intelligence you got, the one who created you gave it to you, and he's sustaining your mind. You could have lost your mind. You could have been one of those statistics that dropped out, but he sustained you. You're in love with somebody who's not only the one who sustains you, but he's also the one who is your provision, your protector. He's the one. He's the one who loves on you unconditionally, who says to you, I'm not loving you because of your performance. I loved you before you were valedictorian. I loved you before you graduated. I just love you because you're you. And then there are folk walking around talking about they love you, but they've never done anything for you. There are folk who love you, but their love is based on self-love. I'm doing what benefits me rather than what benefits you. But God says, I loved you so much that I gave up myself so that you might be saved. I gave up myself so that you could find success and significance. I gave up myself on a cross called Calvary, died but early Sunday morning. You got to fall in love with him. And if you can't fall in love with him unless you make him your God. Not your mama's God, not your daddy's God, not pastor's God, but yours. And let me say this real quick. I told you there are competing desires. And so sometimes you fall in love with another person, and you want to make that person the love of your life and your everything. And you say silly stuff like, I can't live without you. Please, baby. You can live without them. Don't even say that in your mind. The only person you can't live without is God. Because at some point they're going to leave you or you going to leave them. And I hope you can still live. You make me happy. No, you don't. He gives me joy. You can't make me happy because you're not consistent. You up sometime, down sometime. Crazy sometimes, sane sometimes. Let me move on. I got to move. And so you fall in love. Love like when you wake up in the morning, You used to look in your plate and you saw his face or her face, but now you see Jesus' face. You used to wake up and you want to see if they text you during the night, but now you wake up and open your Bible to see if God got a word for the day. Yeah. I'm trying to move because I got 2 more points real quick. But then he says, love your neighbor as yourself. And so the most important thing in life is loving him. But then he ties this to it. You got to love yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. And the self comes before the neighbor, although it's last in the sentence. And when you're loving him and you see yourself through his eyes and you get his love, it helps you to love yourself. You see, it's okay to love you while you love other folk. Love yourself enough as he sees you to know that your love for yourself is based on who you are inherently and not what you do. And listen to me now. I want you to be educated. But God don't love you because you're educated, and you shouldn't love yourself simply because you got a degree or a high school diploma. You don't love yourself based on what you see in the mirror. Because the best of you, your heart, your soul, and mind, you don't see that in the mirror, but you just love you. And then I love myself so much until I got boundaries now. Because I realize how valuable I am, there are some people that can't get in. Because I'm too valuable for trash like you. There are some people that can't get in because you don't see the value of who I am. You think I think they call it those zirconium diamonds, them fake diamonds. What is it? You think I'm zirconium, baby, but this 35 carats right here. You got to treat me like I'm real. I don't think I'm better than folk, but because I love me. There's a standard, and if you can't step to me and honor what's in front of you, then step to somebody else who will take what you got to offer, because I don't need that. I don't want that in my life. And I love myself, and so I take care of me. I'm not going to drink myself to death because I love me. I'm not going to eat stuff that's going to kill me because I love me. I'm not going to party all night and day in college because I didn't go there to party all night and day. I went there to get a degree, and I love myself enough to stay on task. I'm not talking about anybody in here, so don't be calling me, writing me. Don't you get up from here and send me no letter and no message. I'm not talking about you, but I'm getting ready. What I'm getting ready to say. I love me so much to use the language that the people used to use when I was growing up. You can't just get the milk without getting the cow, babe. You just can't move in here. You just can't lay up in here. You just can't use my stuff. You can't spend my money. You can't drive my car if you ain't willing to invest in the cow. There's some good steak right here. Y'all better help me up in here. You got the wrong address. Look around you, look around you, look around you. This ain't Motel 6, look around you. And when you love yourself like that, if I had time, I'll stay there. But you get the point. And you love yourself, And the love of God enables you to do that. But the same love that you have for yourself, for God, then you share that love with other people. You love people. And listen to me real quick. In the world of work, there's something we call soft skills. You know, knowing how to talk to people, treat people. But listen, here is the hard skill. Love will take you further than anything else. Listen, the high school diploma, the college degree, the name, all of that is the outer wrappings that will get you in a place, in a position. But what will determine how significant you are there is your ability to work with other people. And what determines your ability to work with other people is whether or not you can love them. I don't go to work to love people, you better. I didn't come to Mount Zion to love nobody. I just came to worship. No. Wherever you are, if you want to be significant, if you want to fulfill your purpose, then you got to work with other people. And the key is loving them. But they don't love me back. They don't have to. God said, you love them. Be kind. In 1 Corinthians 13, be kind. Can't you just be kind to the people in your workplace? Can't you be kind to the people at church? Be kind to the folk in your house, first of all. It said love is patient. Can't you be patient with people? Because here it is. Folk be patient with you. You don't see how you stink. You don't see how you get on folk nerve. And folk are patient with you. And so you got to learn to be patient. And all of those things that makes love real, that's what you got to do. It's not a feeling. So children, let me tell you something. Learn to love people, especially children, especially older people, especially people who can't do anything for you, because we good at piling love on folk that we want something from. But folk we figure we don't need, we give them, you know. And this is for the church folk right here. If you're not in the church, you can just check out for a minute. And to all of the gifted folk in church, all the holy folk in church, listen. I want to read it straight out the book. 1 Corinthians 13. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, I have become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Break that down, Pastor Simmons. All your tongue speaking make us sick. When you don't love us, when you don't be kind, when you don't speak, when you think you better than us, it just makes us sick.
Thanks for watching. Be blessed and continue walking in the light.